think that we've all heard the need for more flexibility in workers, right? And getting the work done versus specific hours. I think that takes a shift in mindset.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of MPN Expert Highlights. I'm Emma Riggi, the director of MyProfessionalNet, and today I am joined with Joy Dahlen, and we're going to discuss some organizational management in the virtual workplace. Joy, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So my background is in global human resources at a Fortune 100 company. I've also done organization development consulting for nonprofits and small businesses. And currently I'm focused in career and leadership coaching. And then also I have a bachelor's degree in business and organizational management and a master's in organization development.
Awesome. I think your background is going to be great for our subscribers who are design professionals working in pretty small firms. So focusing, on small businesses to get us started. Maybe for those who aren't aware, could you give us a quick explanation and just kind of go over what organizational management is?
Sure. So simply put, organizational management's core principles include planning, organizing, leading, and controlling resources within a company to achieve its goals. And with this concept, I also like to include the concept of organization development, which then focuses on how to improve those existing processes, strategies, structure, etc.
Perfect. So to kind of kick us off, focusing again on small businesses, I'm interested to hear what you might think are some just sort of best practices when it comes to planning, development, performance improvement overall. Do you have a couple of best practices you'd like to share?
Absolutely. So the first thing that comes to mind is being intentional about your culture. And especially with the shift to more virtual work environments, that's changed culture quite a bit. Or when you're a small business and you're wearing a lot of hats, you might be running at a very fast pace and can overlook culture. And so I always like to keep that top of mind. How did you start that company in terms of your mission, your values, and how do you continue to incorporate those things? So that might look like if you're implementing a new policy or an internal process or some type of communication, is that reflective of your culture and your values, and making that an intentional part of how you work? Because often there can be a culture of what we say we want to be and then what we are. And so ensuring to continue to align those things as a continual process. The other thing that I think is really valuable is ensuring that you're having a consistent feedback loop. So that might be feedback from your customers, it might be feedback from your employees. And so, for example, in this more virtual working environment, with your employees who you might have seen in the office or had the opportunity to have regular communication, that's changed. So what are you implementing as a formal way to collect that feedback, either through some one-on-ones, some group sessions, or maybe a survey? And the same with your customers. This really ties back into that core principle of monitoring in terms of organizational management. So those are two things that I like to share.
And it's interesting that we talk about people that you might have seen in the office, people that you haven't. And it's funny for me because I've been here at Riverton and MyProfessionalNet for almost 2 years now, and I have never actually met anyone in person. So it's wild, the differences that only a couple of years, can make. And kind of going along with that, with all these changes, I'm wondering kind of to go along with that strategic planning, any changes that come along, how do you implement those and maintain them?
So I like to use a method called a gap analysis. So for a business that may be growing, maybe scaling, or like you said, experiencing rapid change, how do you best prepare for that? So often we grow faster than we're ready for, or things come up unexpectedly. And so being prepared for that in terms of resources and people is very key. So in terms of doing a gap analysis, it starts out with putting together an exercise of what is the current state of your business. So that might be your revenue, what you're focused on from a product or service standpoint, number of employees, et cetera. Really getting clear on outlining those specifics. And then spending some time, and this could be done by yourself as a leader or with a team as well. What does that future state look like? So what are you trying to grow to? What revenue are you trying to hit? Customers you might be looking to acquire, expanding services or offerings for your business. And then from there, defining what does that look like? And then what's the gap that we have to get there? And that gap might be systems or technology that's going to allow you to scale. It could be number of employees or skill set of employees or other resources. So for example, maybe there's a specific skill set that you need from talent in terms of a technical capability that you don't currently have, right? And so to be ready and prepared to scale at the pace that you need to hit those goals, you want to think strategically of that gap analysis. When is the right time to work on acquiring that skill? And it could look different. Maybe it's upskilling and training your employees internally. Maybe it's bringing that talent for an outside hire. Maybe it's working with a consultant or contractor. But looking at that timing is really what's key in the gap analysis of what's right now at the time that you're looking to scale and build, because the constraints of cost of what it is to implement that versus being readiness are really key. And so I've found that has been a really successful tool to keep you looking forward and thinking about what's coming and be able to adjust as unexpected things also come up.
Definitely. And we all know that unexpected things can get thrown at any time and may last for a longer time than you expect. And kind of more on that, specifically honing in on that shift to virtual work, how are some of the ways that you've seen a change or a shift in performance, whether it's employee performance or just kind of performance review, anything that you've seen that has impacted that due to specifically changing from in-person to virtual working?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we have all heard the need for more flexibility in workers, right? And getting the work done versus specific hours. And so I think that takes a shift in mindset and leadership to have trust in your team members. And it also requires refining your expectations and ensuring that those are clear as well.
Right.
And so I think that environment is changing the way people are thinking about work and being able to produce results that are productive, effective, right? And so again, this comes back to aligning to those goals, making sure you're planning to ensure that then you're measuring for the right things as well.
Right. Yeah, I think all mindset along with tools and all of these things, it really takes work to put together, and it's definitely a learning curve. But I think with the length of how long people have been, they're used to virtual working now. And I think it's interesting to see how quickly that shift can happen. So kind of before we wrap up a little bit, if you had to pick 1 or 2 points that you would really like our listeners to focus on or take away from this conversation, what would you say are the 2, starting points or main objectives?
I think that prioritization is one of the key things when you're looking at resources, looking at planning and how you lead, continuing to stay focused on your core business goals and values and ensuring that you're communicating those things clearly. And then leading as a change leader who is championing those core values, continuing to drive that strong culture and to make that a successful environment for your employees and then successful in terms of reaching your business growth and goals.
Definitely. And then finally, if our subscribers and listeners wanted to contact you or if they had any questions, where could they find you?
Welcome to connect directly with me on LinkedIn, and also can find me on Instagram at Career Path Navigator.
Perfect. I will include the links to both of those pages in the description of the video, and I'll also put the URL on the screen. So it should be easy to find you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to hopefully talking again in the future. I think we can really delve deep into some of these points, and I look forward to that. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.